So that reference helps us to raise a question and to ask ourselves how many times we were upset at times in relations, in events outside, while living our personal, professional, social, and family life. So every reaction, every upset has to do with ignorance. Every upset, every reaction, every issue, every problem has to do with the delusion. So I recognize that I am in delusion, and the next moment I negate it. Just, yeah, 2 or 3 days ago, this young guy, I'm very much hurt. She did not respond to me. I said, give me 3 benefits of becoming hurt. Only 3 benefits. You are stressed. Yes, I am stressed. So give me 3 benefits of your stress. You are in stress. So what are the 3 benefits of your stress? He started laughing. I said, why you are laughing? You answered. So that is how by the intellect we push the mind little far. Is there any benefit of crying, being stressed, being upset, fighting with somebody, reacting to something? And the answer is no. We did not invite any God. God help him, help me. We did not invite God, can you help me not to get upset? So the moment I say, God help me, I have separated the God from myself. And the moment I have separated, so for me, problem is outside, God is outside. So sometimes the mind in ignorance chooses the problem, in ignorance it chooses the God. That is why Mangalacharan should be, I wake up in the morning and I remember, even by thinking, it's okay. That real self and that God is one. That real self and that supreme consciousness is one. We are going to raise 3 beautiful questions at the end of this session so that it will help us to remove that ignorance. So, Mangalacharan, again we return back to the Mangalacharan. Namaste, I am you, you are me. We do not understand this. I am you, you are me. From the standpoint of the body, hunger and thirst, no, birth and the death. So, from the standpoint of the body, birth and death of both of us takes at a different time. From the standpoint of the life force, prana, hunger and thirst also happens at a different time. From the standpoint of the mind, sorrow and happiness, you become unhappy on certain things, I become unhappy on totally different things. From the standpoint of intellect, we have different likes and dislikes. But from the standpoint of consciousness, we are same. Consciousness, we are same. So when we identify with the body, with the breath, with the mind, with the intellect, and so called the ego, we feel, we experience You are different from me. I am different from you. And the fact is that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the breath. Even then, I say I am different than you. I use the word I am different than you. See, I am the body, my body is different. I am so old, you are so young. So I'm standpoint is body. But I'm not the body. I forget that I'm not the body. I claim I am the body, then only I say that my body and your body, your mind, my mind, your life, my life, your intellect, my intellect, your life, my life, your sorrow, my sorrow. Just before this session, I concluded the group session on mindfulness. There we are understanding from the text which is known as Panchadashi. It's one of the most beautiful texts. So I said, this guy said, you and your wife are the two pots full of water where the sun is reflected. Sun is outside, above you, reflected in the two pots, so you and your wife. When you recognize there are two parts, but the sun is only one, at the material level, you are husband and a wife, no issue at all. But never forget it is the same sun reflecting the two sun parts. Then your wife says you are crazy. So you say because you recognize you have two level of awareness. One, living the material life, and the one, absolute life. Thank you, darling. I also see myself that I am crazy. Let us sit together and find a solution. You don't get upset. Because two parts, the sun, do not exist, they are simply reflecting on the mind. So the three steps of the Mangalacharan, whether we say Namaste, whether we do the blessing and the prayer with the Shanti mantra, or we directly say, I am the real self, and that real self is the supreme self. I am the real self. I see the reflected sun, and then I see that reflected sun is nothing but the supreme self. I remember this every day, every moment. When I remember, when I am aware of it, I have completed the Mangalachara. Binary format. So, what happens with this binary format? That there is only one sun, it means wherever the mind identifies is not me. I identify I am a man, not me. Husband, not me. Father, not me. Professional, not me. Hungry, not me. Hunger takes place due to the life force when the energy level goes down. Birth and death, that it is belongs to the body, not to me. So with the binary format, the best thing is available. I live in an extraordinary awareness all the time. Just remembering the binary format. I just live. Live with the honey in that binary format. Live my professional life with the binary format. Live my family life with the binary format. So there comes, when you remember, when you are aware what I am and what I am not. And what you remember, I am the supreme existence. So the mind also goes down. The mind says, no, I am an individual self. And you say, yes, you are an individual self with the body, mind, intellect, and ego. But that is only a reflected consciousness. Fact is that I am a supreme consciousness. What we are doing by this Mangala Charan, we are purifying the mind. We are not ready to accept what is false. We are not ready to accept what is delusion. We are not ready to accept there is a mirage water is true. We are not ready to accept the blueness of the sky is true. And that we do it in a very such a simple way, in a casual way, without doing any practice. Why we can't do this? We cannot do this because of deep attachment, delusion, identification, attachment, ignorance, impurity, Maya. That is how the Buddha says the world is suffering. Because I identify myself with the world. So this master is explaining that binary format is the best to a qualified seeker. Now see what happens. There is a tremendous fear for anything in the world. So then I say, I wake up in the morning tomorrow and I will go to the temple and pray to the God. So the fear continues from from the point it enters into your mind until you go there, and still you return. You don't know. You are not sure whether the God has really blessed me or not. So what happened in the binary format? Your fear is gone. Fear is gone here and now. Negativity is gone here and now. See that. That fear, that negativity, that reaction, because the mind does not find any opportunity to react, to be scared, to compare, to regret, to worry. If that happens, then I have accepted the binary format. What is binary format? I am and I am not. Because I am conscious of you, so I am consciousness, and that consciousness is the real self, and real self at the individual level, but the same consciousness is the supreme self. So whether we say it is a God or the supreme consciousness, normally in Eastern wisdom we say Brahma, not Brahma, we say Brahma. The literal meaning of the Brahma is expanding into the infinite space. It constantly expands. Infinite Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The definition of the Brahma is Satyam, the truth, infinity, and the knowledge. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Knowledge is consciousness, truth is consciousness, consciousness is truth, consciousness is knowledge. All the three are interchangeable. That we will understand it clearly in the following session. What happens when we accept the binary format? It is such a beautiful, the mind instantly undergoes a change. But question is why the mind undergoes an instant change? First thing, this mind cannot understand, cannot see the subjective reality. The moment I see you, you are an objective reality for me.
Yeah.
But when I accept the binary format in my mind, my mind is directly going to the subjective reality. It leaves the mirror's water, it finds the ultimate cause. It leaves the trees are running behind me when I'm driving on a highway. It leaves that earth is stationary. It instantly leaves. It negates the blueness of the sky. Subjective reality cannot be seen by the senses, but still I know it. Do you see? Still I know it. I know what I know. Sand in the sunlight causes the mirage water, so this is not true. Negated. Highways running, not negated. Earth is stationary, negated. So all that is what I am not. The objective reality is negated. Means what? I I keep on remembering. Means what? I'm constantly aware that there is a subjective reality, and that subjective reality is me. You will find a solution that the mind has crazy negative thoughts. It's not me. Simple. Positive thoughts. It's not me. Simple. I could see, I could feel, I could experience that thought. Honey is crazy, so the craziness goes out of the honey, the mind, because the mind knows the ultimate reality is the subjective reality, and in the binary format, there are only two things: I am the Supreme Self, the rest I am not is the objective reality. So, mind says honey, it is an objective reality. So I don't get into any trouble. I solve the issues and the challenges in a happy mood. Then I don't get hurt. Then I don't feel. For example, my honey is the cause of my suffering. It never comes to your mind. You are purifying the mind. You have already purified the mind. So that seeker challenges the mind. Mind says, go to the temple and pray. So that mind challenges. If I see you as an objective reality, then you are not conscious entity. Why should I pray you in the temple? Why shouldn't I remember you? And that remembering is a prayer. So you see the difference between the prayer in the religion and prayer here. So, one sect, one tradition in India that is very famous, that is known as self remembering. Even the Sufism, they also say self remembering. What is that self? Supreme Self. I remember simply. I recall. Who recalls? The mind recalls. Why the mind recalls? The mind forgets because of the identification, because of the impurity. So I recall, I repeat, I remember consciously. So this master says the real self is no other than the God. It is no other than the supreme existence. So what is the entire problem of the human race? And what is the solution? So first, the first solution, first understand the solution. Once I discover, recognize, and realize that individual self is the supreme self, all the problems are gone. when I recognize the space inside the pot is one and only one with the space outside, all the problems are gone. I don't fall into triangular form. I have nothing to do with it. That is how Ramakrishna says, I see Kali everywhere. Can I can I imagine the level of awareness in which he is living? Extraordinary awareness in which he is living. He perceives the Krishna. Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, says that Rama lives within me. So that Rama with the physical body does not live in me. It is just a symbolic expression. It's a metaphor. So the word Rama simply means that one which is all pervading, that permeates everywhere, is Rama. The body cannot permeate everywhere. That is what the consciousness is. Krishna. Krishna literally means that attracts everything towards itself. What attracts? It's only the consciousness. So should I forget the image of the Rama and the Krishna? No. The mind will always understand with the image of the Rama and Krishna. So understand with the Rama and Krishna, then go deep. That is the finest form of the prayer. Whether you simply say Ram, or I would say you see Krishna and you say Ram, that is also a prayer. You go to the church and you see the Jesus, Krishna, you are in this form. Thank you very much. I have seen you. If I don't see that, that is not a prayer. Whether you keep on saying, Our Father in heaven, holy be your name, your kingdom come, kingdom never comes. Kingdom will never come. So I bypass, the way I bypass the mirage water to have the knowledge inside, now I bypass the image with the same image. I use that image. I use Rama, I use Krishna, I use Jesus, I use anything. But by using that, I bypass. Mirage water, I know it's a sand and sunlight. I know it. It's okay. I'm okay. And you see, we enter into a new level of awareness. The importance of binary format. What is binary format? I am and I am not. And what I am is consciousness, and that consciousness is the real self. But I don't see a real self is also the supreme self. Once I find that unity, I won't say unity, I find it is a non dual. There are not two. I recognize the two due to ignorance. I recognize the two due to impurity of the mind. So the impurity of the mind can go away by becoming a seeker, and when the seeker is qualified, the qualified seeker follows the fourfold practices, the discernment. That is what we are doing. Viveka, dispassion. Result of Viveka is Vairagya. That should be clearly understood. Result of Viveka. Result of Viveka, that mirage water is false, puts me into a state of Vairagya. But if I forget that Viveka, I go after the Vairagya, it will not work, and that is what people do. I will spend 3 hours every day For kundalini meditation, nothing will happen. Only 3 hours. What will happen afterward? What is going to happen 21 hours? Yes, you will get beautiful experiences. You see the vision and the colors. Sometimes you see the beautiful girl. Why can't you see the beautiful girl with your eyes open? Watch Miss Universe contest. Watch. Whoa. We already have a YouTube. Watch everything with your eyes open. You can feel it. Objective reality. So what happened? I missed that this objective reality is the subjective reality. Why I missed? Because of the impurity of the mind. Why there is an impurity of the mind? I am not a seeker. Why I am not a seeker? I don't know what is discernment, what is viveka, what is will. So when we follow viveka, we enter into vairagya, and after the vairagya, I give the same example. You have a storm outside, you rush inside the home, so you are in a state of dispassion with the storm. Calmness is already there. So the 6 treasures are there: sama, dhamma, uparati, titiksha, everything. Now you are living with that. So do you see that qualified seeker lives with the fourfold practices to continue the journey of the self-discovery? Later on, the seeker realizes, I'm already living in peace by these fourfold practices. What is the use of doing all those practices? Now, to recognize that real self is one with the Supreme Self. That I have not realized. Do you see? See the logic and the understanding and the argument. This master goes to the extraordinary awareness. Mangalacharan. This master covers the Mangalacharan in 11 topics. Why 11 topics? Because we have many Upanishads that is the cream of the text, including Bhagavad Gita, dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, and there is another text, Brahma Sutra. Like the Yoga Sutra, we have a Brahma Sutra. So in the Brahma Sutra, we have all the question and answers only. There is no practice. By understanding, we remove all the doubts and the confusion. So the master says, instead of I have learned, he says that I was a Sanskrit scholar, I knew the grammar, I have read everything, I have studied everything, I have reached to that state. So why you should study this text? Because I know how to reach there in a simple way. Instead of studying all the Upanishads one after the other, I will cover this Mangalacharan to remove your doubts in 11 topics. How God is nothing but the real self, how the real self is nothing but the God, and there is one matter and the consciousness. In the last stage, we recognize even the matter is an appearance on the consciousness. So that is how we recognize that real self is all pervading. It is only one and one reality. Even the body, now we feel it is to be negated. But after negation, when we reach to the higher state, we accept the body only as an appearance. We accept the mind as an appearance. The way we accept the sun in the bucket of water as an appearance, the same way that bucket is also an appearance like the body, the water is the medium like the mind, that is also an appearance. There is nothing but the real self that helps us to realize God, or so called the consciousness, is all pervading. Do I experience it? Yes. Do I know it all the time? Yes. You never forget. So when you never forget, you live into that state 24 by 7. So he gives different references. We will also talk of those references, what references he gives. So now he says, what question comes to your mind when you follow the binary form? Now he raises the question and he answers it. That is the beauty. So he helps us to make our mind mature, intellect sharp, to live into the higher awareness. So from his point of view, he says that the seeker may ask the question that what are the attributes or characteristics of a real self? First you tell me. Then I will also understand, are the same characteristics of the real self with the supreme consciousness or the God? Then I may agree with you. That is how he has become a seeker now. He says, I may agree. It means he raises the doubt. So he says, oh, yeah, so let us understand the characteristics of a Brahma. It is happiness, it is permanent happiness. Now you can see my teachings were based directly on the Upanishads. I say real self is of the nature of permanent happiness, truth, wisdom, knowledge, love. So I pick up some of the words. So here the master says it is permanent happiness. It is eternal, present all the time. It is self-evident. It is all pervading. Then he says, now here, he comes with a clarity. Because our mind has a doubt, I see your name in the form, I see the name in form in the entire world. But you also see the name in the form of in the mirage water. Why it does not exist? So he says that Supreme Consciousness is the cause of the name and the form in the world outside. If the sun and sunlight is not there, so where you can find the mirage water? The sky is not there, where you can find the blueness of the sky? So the very cause of the false self is the real self. Cause of the body is the real self, the mind, the intellect, the ego, the thoughts, the impurity. Cause is the real self. So first it is happiness. Second is eternal. Third is self-evident. We will pick up each word and when we will understand how it is. All pervading. It is the basis of all the world of the name and the form. Anything in the world of name and form. And we discussed in many ways Your body and my body, how they are different. They cannot be different. They appear different because of the color, because of the shape and the size, maybe because of the age. So why don't you go deeper to find out if the body is different? No, inside it is the same carbohydrate, protein, nutrients, minerals, vitamins. Their quantity may be different, but carbohydrate, protein are the same. No, but you have told many elements, many compounds, and many mixture. So all compounds and mixture are basically an element. And what is an element? It is a matter. So we return to the binary format. Have you seen that in many talks before? I gave that insight, but I did not talk about whether it's a binary format or not. So why? Because your mind becomes very clear about it. Same thing with the honey. The honey is the name and the form and the body and the matter, and ultimately the matter is nothing but ultimately we come to the energy. One thing we should be sure, energy cannot be consciousness. And there the Eastern wisdom says, come on, that energy, the cause of this energy is consciousness. Energy does not have an intelligence. If the electrical energy has an intelligence, means knowledge, means consciousness, then the moment you pass the energy, electrical energy into your house, they will say, don't worry, I know, I will put the adapter here. Here will be the tube light, here will be the fan connection, here will be the AC connection. It will say that. It is not conscious. Energy is not consciousness. So there, majority of the people know everything comes out of the energy. Everything comes out of energy. You came out of the energy? Yes, I agree with you for a time being. I come out of the energy? Yes. What about mosquito? Energy. Elephant energy. So who does this intelligent operation? Who does? There must be a knowledge, and that knowledge is consciousness. Consciousness is not a part, product, and produce of the energy. How can you say the energy did that configuration? Consciousness has to be there. So, how there is an intelligently different parts put together to appear as a mosquito, to appear as me, to appear as you, to appear as an elephant, that has to be done by the consciousness. Energy cannot do. Energy is unconscious. Matter. It is inert. It cannot see itself. It cannot see others. Then he uses another word. That is how the 11 topics are discussed. First is permanent happiness. Second is it is eternal. Third is it is self-evident. We will talk in detail about this. All pervading. We discussed about that it is the cause of the entire universe, solar system, you, me, relations, anxiety, reaction, pleasure, impurity, purity, everything. Then he blows our mind. Did you understand through your intellect? Yes. So don't make a mistake. It is not an intellect, it is a witness of an intellect. It is the knower of an intellect. We will also understand the difference between the knower and the witness. So here he says it is the witness of the intellect. Did you understand everything from your intellect? Yes. Matter, consciousness, energy, etc., etc. Yes. Don't mistake that it is an intellect, because the intellect creates an I thought. So he directly says it is a witness of an intellect. Think of this. So we are the way the physicist understands and enters into a metaphysics. So same thing we are doing. Exactly the same thing we are doing. Only one difference. When we talk of quantum physics, it's a theory. When we study Eastern wisdom, it's a realization. We still talk. E is equal to mc squared is a theory. Quantum physics is a theory. We don't say it's a reality. I am a sense of a tree if the tree is universe. So now he says, why, if you study Tatriya Upanishad, it is one of the principal Upanishad. So he gives the reference. He uses the intellect. He says, we are an essence of a tree. Essence means we are a cause of a tree. If the tree is universe, if the tree is your world, what is in your world? Your personal life, your body, your physical level, your mental level, your emotional level, your intellectual level. You have crazy thoughts, you have good thoughts, purity, impurity of the mind. Everything that you see, you know, your personal, professional life, everything. If that is a tree, in the binary format, that real self is the cause of that tree. The way the mirage water is the cause of. That is how the Tatriya Upanishad explains. So he gives a brief reference. So we need not to go to that detailed reference. As we continue, we will understand. So there is another Upanishad. No, before that. So if you understand that tree of life, of physical body, a personal, professional, social life, has some foundation, has some basis, and that base is consciousness. Clear? Yes, clear. So why don't you accept the binary format? So he again comes back and he says, accept the binary format. Ask your mind to follow the binary format until you realize the real self. After that, you throw all the principles. No worries. Science cannot throw even a single principle, I tell you. We are using these principles because that is the only way this mind can understand. Our real self, our supreme self, our God does not depend on any of these principles. It is independent. It is all pervading. That is why we say it is all pervading. That is why we say it is permanent happiness. Otherwise, if it is temporary happiness, it has a cause and effect. Sexual pleasure, cause and effect. Eating pasta, cause and effect. So he says, don't have a doubt. Don't follow the scientific principle. You have to follow the Eastern wisdom. We are talking in the same way. We are still talking of the cause and effect. But wait. Why we are talking of cause and effect? Because to remove the doubts, to have a conviction, to have a realization. The once you have a realization through all those principles, I am, exist without thought. You go into the dark room, still I am exist. You come out in the sunlight, I am exist. It doesn't need any thought, sense, organ, body, mind, intellect, and ego. That sense of I am always exists, whether it is mosquito, or elephant, tiger, any living creature. That I am exist. The master says, if I am that, Why don't you accept the binary form? So, what is going to happen if you start following these simple principles without any practice? You will see the fear is gone. I remember at the age of 16, 17, or 18, perhaps, living in India. So, there was a wind in the afternoon, and I felt the touch of the wind, and I thought it is a vampire, it is a ghost. So, because you are so young, so you don't have that level of fear, you start searching everywhere in the home as if I can find the ghost. But I didn't find it. That is one aspect of it. That is how the tree grows. But then I read and heard that the ghost kills you from nowhere. You cannot know through the sense organs. So all the fears entered into my mind. So I used to get scared for many, many months. Even if some noise, something happens, and I say it is a ghost, my mind creates an image of a ghost by sound, by touch. That is what the tree is talking about. The tree of my world, of fear, of anxiety. So, the master calls us that why shouldn't we accept this binary format that you are the supreme self? So, supreme consciousness is not different, separate from an individual consciousness. I am an individual with a name and the form. Supreme is macro and individual is micro. But it is the same thing. So that is why we have a famous quote: what is within you is the same in the entire world. What is in the micro, it also present in the macro. Now see, where we cannot think, this master helps us to think. Happiness, eternal, all pervading, cause of the name and the form, self evident. And the last he says, it is the witness of the intellect. Don't get carried away by the impurity and ignorance of the mind that if everything I understand by the buddhi, then I am the intellect. No, it is the witness. So, what is the witness? Through the understanding of the witness of an intellect, we come to an understanding that what the real self knows the intellect does not know the real self. Same way, my mouse does not know me, but I know it. Very good, clear. So when the intellect cannot know the real self, how it should be realized?
Yeah.
We never ask this question.
Main question.
Main question, we simply say that okay, you are right. I can see that point. It is an understanding of an intellect. See that it is not an understanding of the real self. We never ask this question, and this master raises that question. So everyone who has done meditation and mindfulness, they say, "Oh, it is beyond mind. It transcends the mind." What do you mean by transcending the mind? So we continue to live in ignorance, and we say transcending the mind means my eyes are closed and I'm into the heaven. I see the vision and the colors. But I see those experiences. Those experiences is not an experiencer. I'm searching who am I. I'm not searching what I experience. Do you see 99% of the people in this journey? They are very happy with the experiences. So they fall short of it. They are still living in that ignorance. Master asked that, do you understand that point? How to realize. So in one Upanishad, now he gives the reference of an Katho Upanishad, which is one of the prime Upanishads. Have you heard that there is a dialogue between the god of the death and a young guy? So they both have a dialogue and conversation in this Upanishad. So that Upanishad, he refers this Upanishad, he says that self cannot be reached by thought, by speech, nor even by the sense organs. How can it be realized otherwise? He that it exists. I have to know that it exists. The moment I know that real self exists, I know it. I realized it. But the Upanishad, this master says, now he has raised the question, now he is raising the doubt. But he says the Upanishad says that real self cannot be recognized, realized through the words or the intellect. So then another Upanishad. Now you see we are learning all the Upanishads. You can think that way. He says, just contemplate and reflect. I see the world outside. The world is seen by the sense organs. Sense, but these world cannot see the sense organ. The senses are seen by the mind, but the sense cannot see the mind. The mind is seen by the intellect. Mind is seen by the intellect. It is a thought process. It is an I thought. But the mind cannot see the intellect. The intellect and the I thought is seen by some consciousness, but I thought and the intellect cannot see that consciousness. Oh, are you clear? Yes, I have understood. Yes. How did you understand? How did you understand that? The intellect and the I thought is seen by something else, that is consciousness, and the I thought cannot see, realize the consciousness. Are you clear? The intellect has understood. How it has understood? How it has understood? How it has understood? Understanding is knowledge. Understanding is awareness. How did you understand? How did you understand mirage water is false? Objects, oh. So he's raising the doubt and then he will answer clearly. So no worries, he will answer. Katho Upanishad. Then he goes in a big way. He said the sun, moon, lamp cannot recognize and realize the real self. And then Upanishad makes a big statement. In the presence of the real self, everything shines. Did you get an answer? Intellect does not have its own consciousness to recognize I thought, but the intellect shines in the presence of the consciousness. Mind shines in the presence of the consciousness. Sense organ shines in the presence of the consciousness. The world, entire world shines in the presence of the consciousness. But be very clear, the sun does not shine the real self. Even if you feel you have a doubt, if in the presence of the sunlight I see the world, forget about it. It is different than the sun is not the real self. Sun is not like the real self. What he is saying? It's only a matter of understanding. It's not a matter of awareness. What is moving? My hands and fingers. But it is a matter because these fingers are shining in the presence of the consciousness. My lips, my larynx, my speech, everything shines in the presence of that consciousness. So there is a possibility, I'm raising a doubt. That's why I'm saying a possibility. So there is a possibility to know the real self through the intellect. Not directly. Keep that doubt in the mind. Buddhi cannot reveal the real self, objectively. I'm adding another word. Nothing reveals the real self, but the real self illumines everything. I'm repeating again. Pay attention. Intellect cannot reveal real self, but the real self can illumine the intellect, illumines everything. So it means there is some possibility. Real self illumines or knows the intellect. Real self knows the I thought. Real self knows the mind. Real self knows the sense organ. Real self knows the entire tree of the world. Means real self illumines, it lightens. In its presence, the intellect knows. In its presence, the body works. In its presence, the matter rearranges in a different form, becomes the mosquito, becomes me and you, becomes an elephant, becomes. It is an intelligent organization. But I stick on the same point. The intellect does not reveal. So now this master. Don't say, I'm just expressing in my own way. But this master says we have three contradictions. If we solve these three contradictions, at least we can start the journey. So I'm raising a question. So if I am sure the intellect cannot find the real self, then why we are attending a class? Why
But
you are listening?
you promise that you give me the instrument for find real self.
If Kathopanishad directly says the thought and the words cannot help you reach to the real self, then why there is a master and disciple tradition? Then why there are Upanishads? Why there is so much of the text? You sit in your home, I sit in my home. We enjoy all pleasures and we will continue to suffer. Where is the problem? Such a big doubt. So how Guru teaching the unteachable real self, that is where the Eastern wisdom comes. So when we are a qualified seeker, then only we reach to this point. One contradiction is already there, it is in my mind. How the Guru, using the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, teaching to realize the real self, which is not teachable by the intellect. So we will understand clearly, but you keep in mind, and otherwise this master reminds us. So the master says, no practice, shravanam, listening and learning, mananam, contemplation and reflection, and third is nididhyasan. These three steps are the ways to understand, to reach to that. That gives an answer hidden into it. But we will go directly to the three doubts that you need to think, and that we will take up these three doubts in a very much clarity. What are the three doubts? First doubt, the words thought cannot know the real self. In one Upanishad, that is said. In another Upanishad, it says that the word and the thought cannot know the real self directly. So you get an answer? Thought or the intellect cannot know the real self directly. Oh, so do you mean to say that the intellect can know the real self indirectly? Yes. I know that there is no mirage water indirectly. I have a conviction. In one Upanishad, it says mind can or intellect cannot know the real self. Then he says the qualified mind can know the real self directly. That is the second doubt. So we have resolved this. So we will go in detail. Third, the same Upanishad says when the mind reaches to the utmost qualification or intellect, that intellect illumines the real self. What did you say? I said that intellect illumines the real self. But the intellect is matter. Consciousness should illumine the intellect. The intellect cannot illumine the real self. So he gives reference from another Upanishad. And then he solves these three questions. These three questions step by step. So think of this, contemplate and reflect. First, intellect cannot know the real self directly. So it means it can know the real self indirectly, yes. That one indirect method I have already told you. Sense organs cannot know the sense organs cannot know the mind. Mind knows the sense organs. Mind cannot know the intellect. Intellect knows the mind. Intellect cannot know the real self, but the real self shines the intellect. I know it. It is an understanding. It's very clear. But how you prove? How you prove that the intellect shines the real self? Do you like someone? Yes. Do you dislike someone? Yes. At one point of time you like your honey? Yes. At other point of time you hate your honey? Yes. Intellect cannot know itself that you have a liking, you have a disliking, you have a hatred, you have a love. There has to be someone. Did you get it? There has to be someone who is illumining the intellect, knows this. The way the mind knows the five sense organs do not know the mind. The same way there is the real self that knows what the intellect is doing with the likes and dislikes, with the hatred and love, with the relationship. Oh, that knows. That knows. So I know the real self indirectly. I cannot know the moment. If I say I should know the real self directly, it becomes an objective reality, it becomes a matter.
Yeah.
So focus on these three questions.